we can expect to see, I mean, you can expect to see all of us are back with some additional guest stars, like which I think is great. I think you're in for a lot of the fun that was there before, the humor, the friendship, the camaraderie, and you know, a lot of the same. Just we're a little older.
I really believe in my heart that people are going to love it.
When this show came out, did you know that it was going to have the impact that it has had on the community?
Yeah, didn't know what the impact would be, didn't know if people would respond. We did have a sense that we were doing this for the kids. We knew who we were emulating, who we were, the kids, the characters that we were trying to embody. We see them out, we know who they are, but now we're getting to live their lives. So I think there was something exciting about that part. I knew that we were doing something that we hadn't seen on screen, but we'd seen in real life. So yeah, no idea the impact it would have. No concept at all.
I don't think at the time the network had like the Nielsen ratings. The only way we knew people, occasionally, you know, people would come up to me and say, "Hey, I saw you in your show," or "Hey," some people were really like quiet about it, like it was a secret. And then some people were just like, "Hey, I really love you on the show." And I'll never forget there was a mother and her two kids, and I was heading to the gym and like, "Hey, you're," and the little boy said, "Ricky," and it shocked the crap out of me because normally it was, adults, you
Right.
know. Normally, and it was normally adults, and this was a mother and her children, and the child knew who my character was.
You know, once you pass the judgment, because we know as African Americans, we're very judgmental. Even the gay community in general is judgmental. They love the show, but why does everybody got to be so gay? And why don't you show the retrospects of all the aspects of the lifestyle? So we could never, we was always kind of competing in that way. But I think people got it and they love the show because they will always look at me because the one time somebody asked that and I said, "Do you have any friends that you hang around with like any of the four of us characters?" 99% of the time, they always said yes. And I would say, okay, well, then you're relating to the show.
For many of us, we were kind of devastated after the second season when Logo canceled the show. Um, why do you think that happened?
Being completely honest, I don't know. Um, and people might say, "Oh, he know." I actually don't know. I think it was all I know is that we were told you're not the series isn't going to come back. You're going to do a movie. So rather than speculate and say, I think it was, that's what I remember. It was series not isn't coming back, but you're doing a movie.
I mean, there was some discrepancies with the networks, of course, but that was, between Patrick and them and stuff like that. All we had to do was show up and know our lines and do the show. But I think Patrick had a lot of, and I mean, I will share. I think that they really wanted to integrate the show, and Patrick did not. He argued with them daily about that, and he was like, "That's not my vision, and I'm not doing that." And he stuck to his ground with that. And I used to have to talk to him all the time, like, and we knew that it was their money that was putting the show on TV and stuff, but they really wanted to integrate the show, and they a lot, like they I don't know the magnitude of that. I just know a little bit of what Patrick told me, whatever. And I try not to get in too much of it. I was just his friend and trying to be listening. But I felt bad for him though, because he was, Patrick is so talented. And for somebody to have a brainchild and you come up with all the concept, like Patrick, this was all Patrick's idea, everything from root. And so for somebody then to come in and say, "Oh, we want to integrate, we want to da da da," and he stuck to his grounds. And as you notice, it really wasn't any. I mean, maybe he, like how they do us. speckle us in, whatever like that. But it was never. I think they wanted it to be like a main type of character type, and Patrick was like, no.
Really?
I believe that was a big part of that. I'm not sure, but that's what I believe. I just always tried to respect Patrick for his talents and who he is, and I just used to feel bad for him because I know he was struggling with that with them.
I used to get questions at the gym. Daryl and I would laugh about this all the time. We'd get white guys walking up to us like, well, why aren't one of you dating a white guy? Because a lot of white men, especially white gay men, do not understand a universe in which they do not exist. It's like, what? You know what I mean? And it's like, why couldn't there be a white guy? I don't know. It's Patrick's show. And guess what? There are spaces where you guys aren't in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are black men who don't care about white gay men and aren't attracted to them. There are certainly white men who aren't attracted to black men. And like, I always say it both, like nobody makes movies for Asian men except for Asian men. Do you know what I mean? It's like we fetishize so much. And if you're not attracted to it, you're not going to watch it.
Right.
If you're not attracted to the characters, you're not going to watch the people. You're not going to watch the show. Do you know what I mean? So I think that had a lot to do with it. Also, I mean, average. Look, TV is all about it. It's not about the viewers. It's never about the audience, except when it relates to, are these the kind of people that the advertisers want to sell products to?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I think we had Subaru and American Airlines, and that was it. It's about dollars. And whether the audience is perceived well enough to, or like, do they have the kind of disposable income that's going to let them buy the stuff that's on the show?
Yeah.
And you tell me, like, think back 20 years, think about, the average gay black man in the United States. I mean, who's openly gay, right? What kind of life are they living? How much money are they making? What jobs do they have? I mean, it's different now because you look at Instagram and you see a lot of black gay couples and you see a lot of black gay middle and upper middle class couples, or you see a lot of people who want to at least project that lifestyle.
So we're still not perceived as being a market that
Not gays aren't even a market. White gay men are the market.
Now, let me ask you this. Have you ever went to any Black Pride and saw like a huge sponsor like a Bud Light or a big liquor sponsor like that, like the top line? I
Nope.
haven't. I now at the White Prize, they be everywhere. The Budweiser, the Corona, Stoli, all that. But we don't ever have that because it's always harder for us to get those sponsorships. So I understand that.
What was the most memorable scene for you? Like, what scene when you were shooting either the series or the films has stayed with you the most?
The I don't hate you, I love you. To me, that was, profound on so many different levels, not only with just the characters, but, in real life, uh, my relationship with other black men, my relationship with the community as a straight man. There was just so many layers of, I don't hate you, I love you. And from an acting perspective, Patrick pulled me to the side for that. And I was able to internalize things a lot more because of the conversation him and I had, you know, and I've been able to carry that with me in my craft as well. Um, and so that's another reason why that particular scene stands out to me even to this day. And then the other one was uh, Wade being a fucking superhero and going find those dudes and beating their ass. it felt so powerful. It felt so like, I don't know, the vengefulness of it all, the payback of it all, the 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 toughness of it all. You
Yeah.
know, I love that shit, you know, the coming to the rescue, the all of that. Just I just love the way that it was written, you know, and even the shots, like it was even so that basically the cameraman laid on his back with the camera and a pad, and that's how we got the shot. Me over him, fucking going, punching him.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's some real shit.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember the scene where the car ran into the house. You know, the
Yes.
car ran into the. I think that was episode 2 or 3, and we actually was shooting that in the hood, and they stopped the production because they didn't see any black people working. Like we were in our trailers waiting to be, called on the set. So all they saw was these white people working, and then the Nation of Islam and all that came, and they lined up, and they said, and we had to. They rushed us out of there because we didn't know
Really?
what they were going to do, and they said you're not going to do no production here because they didn't see any black people. Which I'm trying to think. Maybe there wasn't any really. I mean, hair and makeup was black, I know, and I mean, maybe a couple of the PAs, but I guess what they saw that day was all they saw was just workers, and they was, setting up stuff and the scenes and stuff, and they just did not like that. And before we knew it, it was like 50 or 60 of them lined up, and
Really?
we had to cut production, and we had to move a different location.
It's not in the show. It's in Jumping the Broom, and there are two of
Okay.
them. There are two of them. There's standing on the snowy deck at that house in Nova Scotia, and Jonathan slapping me,
Mm-hmm.
and like taking that slap and having to do it a couple of times.
Those was real slaps.
Oh yeah, and I kept telling him, hit me harder, because I wanted to have that real impact and like taking that slap. And also, same movie, being in the bed with him, and then the actor that played my student, and having him lick syrup off my chest. And I thought, wow, my dad is rolling in his grave right now. I mean, I have memory. I mean, it's not the scene. Like believe it or not, it's not the scene I remember. It's shooting the scene. Like I don't watch this. I very rarely watch myself. In fact, I haven't seen. I mean, it's got to be 18 years since I watched an episode of Noah's Ark. Like I don't watch it. I remember what it was like to be there.
There,
I remember
I I remember this one scene. It was in the movie. We were at the table, uh, and we were supposed to be all serious, and it was we could not. I don't remember. I don't remember. It was scene we're at the table. Remember Jensen was at the end, and then Rodney was at the other end, and Rodney had to deliver these lines, and we couldn't keep that shit together. It was like everyone was busting up individually at different times, and Rodney, and he would change the way he said things. I think his line was something like Miss Ross, and one time it was like he out of the blue he went Miss Ross, and we were like, what the hell was that? And just it was like bad because we couldn't get through the scene because everyone was busting up different times, and there was somebody who was kind of perturbed that we were all laughing. But it was hilarious. It was hilarious. There were many scenes where you could not keep it together because it was another scene. I remember Daryl and I did the scene in my store. I think it was season one, and Dwight came out and we just messed that scene up. I don't know how many times. I don't know. It's stuff like that. The times I've always been that person like in class I've always wanted to laugh when you're not supposed to laugh. That has always been, it's like it's more funny when you're not supposed to laugh, and that's me.
Black gay visibility. Why is it important?
Because if they don't know we're here, they don't know what we need and what we want, and that we matter, and that we have played a part in every part of this part of American history. Bayard Rustin, last year's movie about Bayard Rustin. So important, and not enough people saw it. You know, you know, like we're always part of something, but we get shoved off to the side. I mean, that's why if we're not visible in the entire spectrum that we exist in, including guys who are on the DL and those who are, you know, wearing a thong and dancing on the street, you know, any day of the week. You know what I mean? Like, I've got friends like that.
Yeah.
I mean, DL the Go-Go Boy. I mean, like, you know, Don Lemon, me, you know, some dude in a trap house, you know, taking loads from 6 different guys right now. And, you know, stripper, we all matter.
And everybody else will discount us, that we're not important, or we're, you know, whatever the things are, is that, you know, we're the kings too, we're the princes too, we're the queens too, whatever you want to be, you know? And
That's
so, I mean,
right.
think, you know, it may sound silly, but I do think, like, oftentimes we have this thing based on society that you're not as, and it's like, yes we are. And I think, you know, and you have made me think, it's like in supporting one another. And one of the reasons why I came back to do Noah's Ark, and I'll say during the Rona Chronicles, was I told Patrick, I'm doing this for the people who like the show, for the fans. I wasn't doing it because for financial, it was none of that stuff. It was, I'm doing it for that. And yeah. I guess that's what I'd have to say.
What will actually change the world for the better is us embracing every form of Blackness that we see, all of it. That includes me and straight Black men. That means that we have to figure out how to love on all of us. Because once we are all together on this, once we're not fighting each other on these little things that we see as differences, who's gonna stop us?